And it's Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. This is the Rolling Thunder Podcast.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Chris.
How are you doing, peoples? And Chris. Woo! Ryan's a little happy today. All right.
Make sure he's not popping the mic immediately. I think we're good. We're good. You give quite a loud test when we started out.
Yes, I did.
All right. We had an interesting weekend. What do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about the weekend? Do you want to...
Let's just check in with each other. How about that?
Check in with each other. Okay.
How are you doing, Chris?
I've had better days for sure. Today's been like one of those days where you just didn't sleep well, and like I really needed to. I was trying to make it out here earlier, but I like flat out was like, dude, I need to recharge my batteries because I'm dying over here.
Which is funny because when I thought you were talking about recharging your batteries, I thought you were talking about the cameras.
Oh no, nope. Don't get plugged in. They're good. Yeah.
That's funny.
No, just...
I get it. We had a long weekend. We were out late. It was rainy and cold. I have days too where I'm just like, I don't want to get up today.
Thursday all the way through.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, you know, as usual, we record this a little bit in advance.
Mm-hmm.
But yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm really ecstatic and real excited for myself that I was able to have the clarity all weekend and be able to speak as clear as possible for as long as I needed to talk. So that was good. It's always a big worry of mine that because with my disability, I have to really concentrate on my words.
Yeah, so do we. We...
Oh, well played, sir. Well played.
No, you did great this past weekend. So this past weekend we were at Yuk Yuk, Surrey, doing the Rolling Thunder show.
Yes, we were.
Thanks to everyone who came out to watch.
Yeah, it was really good to see everybody.
Yeah. Ended up having a few interesting conversations with people who came out to the shows, like posts. One of which was like a guy who was friends with... I don't even know how to phrase this because it's weird to say like one of my idols, I guess. Like,
so he's friends of mine? Is that what you're trying to say?
There were plenty of those there.
Yeah.
No, so there's a comedian who lives in the UK and goes by Sean Collins. Yes. I don't know why I said goes by. That's his name. Yes. Sean Collins, who...
You've talked about him before in the podcast.
Yeah. So some guy who was at the show was like, do you know who Sean Collins is? And I was like, yes, I do. Like, this is a guy that I would like to meet at some point because, you know, he's the dude where I'm like, that's...
I don't see red lights over there, bud.
Oh, what happened to... Cut around it.
Okay.
It's fine.
So you're talking about a guy in the audience that knew Sean Collins?
Yeah, there's a guy in the audience that knew Sean Collins. I mean, the way I'm going to cut around this, so apologies to those of you listening rather than watching. Our sound system went out for some reason, so I'll keep looking over like a psychopath.
Well, I got my eyes on him now, so we're good.
All right. Yeah.
I'll stare at it like it's the first time I saw boobies. And be like, oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wish I could reach like right here, but that's okay. That's fine. I have no idea what happened because it was running fine before, so.
We need to invest in the extension cord?
Probably. I have extension cords.
Okay.
Don't worry. I'm
all right.
moving in soon enough, so yes. I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just for the time being, we're kind of,
Yep.
shoestringing this together.
Okay. Let's get it back on track here.
Yeah, so this guy asked me if I knew who Sean Collins was,
Yep.
and I was just like, that dude's like the first guy I ever saw who wasn't like George Carlin or, someone famous doing stand-up.
Yep.
Where I was like, oh, like regular people do stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's kind of what got me to wanting to actually do stand-up.
I just wanted to get laid.
That's
Really, that's all it was. Because I knew I couldn't be the handsome guy or the guy with a lot of money, but I could be the funny guy, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, that crossed my mind too. So many distractions going on.
Yes. This is real life, Chris. This is real life.
So
Andy, the oven's ready. Okay.
I would say,
Uh, At least my computer didn't break this time, bud.
yeah, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we, and then the late show Saturday, there was a guy I went to school with who was there.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And it was funny, too, because I didn't realize until, like, he had mentioned while I was on stage.
Yeah.
Because, like, I did a bit about a classmate of
Alexis.
ours. And, like, the crowd kind of... Like, it was a very small audience, the late show Saturday.
We should explain why. It's not because we're terrible comedians. It was because it was monsooning outside and...
Yes.
It was really bad weather.
Oh, that definitely didn't help. I mean, like, dude, a good amount of Surrey was, like, flooded.
Yeah.
So.
Well, a good amount of Surrey had a bath for the first time, so we're good.
Jesus. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that guy, it was funny because as I did the bit and it was like kind of got a tepid response because it's kind of mean towards the person I went to high school with, but I'm justifying it in the middle of the bit.
Yes.
And then, I kind of mentioned later on, like, I grew up in Prince George, and like just that table was like, woo, and then like a few people were like, ugh, and I was like, those people were right, you were wrong, and the guy was like, well, I grew up there, and I was like, oh, you did? And he's like, we went to high school together, and I was like, so you knew her then, like I wasn't wrong.
That's funny.
That person was a moron, right? And he was like, yes, they were, and I was like, thank you, like,
that's so funny.
yeah. And then the Friday night show, it was the thing for me that was interesting about it is, we had done this show format as a proof of concept. Mm-hmm. Figured it was something that we can bring to like clubs and venues.
Yes.
But because we had only done it the once as a proof of concept to actually just straight up bring it to a club, like we kind of had to work out the kinks a little bit. Throughout the weekend, but I mean, like, I think it's...
But that's any comedy show at a club, because
Sure.
you never know what the audience is going to be like.
That's true.
We went through the same feeling out process that we would normally. I think when we went on stage together, we just naturally... well, you like to bust my balls, but... yeah. And then I no-sell things...
What are you talking about? You smash me when you're up there.
I know.
You make it sound like I'm the asshole here.
Yeah.
You like to bust my balls. I say nothing. No. No, it's the other way around. It's like I can't get in anything half the time because either sell it. I mean, listen, not all the jokes are going to be winners anyways.
No, of course not.
I'm not an idiot. I understand that.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where, like, when I throw out a joke where I'm like, yeah, that was a pretty good joke. And then you're just like, just try harder. I'm like, fuck you, man. Fuck you. And then after, when we're after the show when you're like, oh, that one was really good. It's hard not to laugh. I'm like, why would you do that to me?
It's okay. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We entertain people, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think people went away all 3 shows and had a good time. So, it's one of those things that when you're working with somebody that you work well with, you just kind of things just naturally happen, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. My biggest takeaway from it all was that's the first time I've done that much time for that many shows in a row, and it felt really good for me personally because, like I said, that was a big issue for me with the whole making sure that I was audible and not rambly. I mean, I got kind of rambly, but not like I normally do. And I like that the new stuff that I've been working on actually went over quite well.
Yeah.
So that was a big win for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say the same for myself. Like, my new stuff went over well, and like it's my act as I've been working on it is slowly coming together.
Yeah.
So like,
I think this show that we're doing is only going to get better and better as we go along.
yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it is interesting when we do like the live Q&A and then audience members are like afraid to ask
Yes.
questions, and it's like you can ask anything. Like this, we'll try to make it funny.
Yeah, it's
if
a
we
safe
can't, we
space.
can't. But like this, we're not gonna come at you for asking a question when we full on are saying like, "Hey, ask us a question."
Yeah.
So
I think people should have realized that based on my material that they could have asked me anything about my disability
yeah,
and I would have answered it because all bets are off with what I'm going to say. I don't even know sometimes. So, yeah, I think it'll grow organically, and I think we definitely have something. So,
I do think we have something. I mean, like I said, my plan all along was to first of all see if I thought this was a viable show, which I figured it would be, and then to start touring it next year when the roads are fine enough that we can start driving out to places. So, which I'm looking forward to like starting to put those together.
Me too, because I'll finally feel like I'm building a future for myself, which it's taken a long time to have society say it's okay. We want to hear from people like you. Moment, and I think we're finally there now. So, as a person with a disability, that really means a lot to me because I love comedy. I am a comedian. It's part of my being. It's part of my soul, and I just love making people happy. So, to have the freedom to go up there and just be myself is all I've ever wanted to do. So,
Okay. This is supposed to be a comedy podcast, not a
yeah, I know.
crybaby.
But we're also
No, I get it, buddy. I get it, and it's honestly, it's so great watching you just go up and fucking destroy. Because I've told people I think you're, top 5 in Western Canada as far as just funny. Like,
thank you.
and it is one of the things where, unfortunately, because of the disability, the opportunities that you've received come very few and far between.
Yeah.
Just because of logistical issues. Has nothing to do with whether or not you're funny.
No, I understand that too.
And it's like, I've always kind of been like, it baffled me that it took that long for any club to headline you anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to be able to help in getting you on the road and doing these long sets regularly.
Yeah.
So you can be a bit more seasoned when it comes to
Different situations.
different situations.
Yeah.
And also to help like build that act for when we finally get around to recording it.
Yes.
Because you've got the material.
I just need to...
You just need to hone it into an act.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The other fun thing that for me was we had one of those traditional hecklers that once they started, they didn't stop for an entire show. That was pretty interesting. I thought I handled my part of the show for that specific show really well. I might have taken it too far with some of the things I said, but you know what? He seemed like the type of person that all bets were off and we could just say what we wanted. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get the funny thing. So like him and I shared a first name. So
Yes.
there was a point where like you did a joke specifically about me.
Yes.
And then he chimed in as if the joke was about him.
Yes.
Where you were joking about how I could hop on your lap and drive
Yeah.
your wheelchair, and the guy was like, yeah, I could give that a try. And I leaned over to Andy and was like, I don't think he realized he meant me, not him. Like,
that's funny. I remember that moment.
Yeah.
I was wondering why you said that, but now it makes sense.
yep.
Now it
Because you
makes
were
sense.
like, Chris does this, right? But it's like, at any time that you mention him,
Yeah, he thought
you mentioned him
yeah.
by his name too.
Yeah, I did. I
know.
did. I love the line when I'm like, what do you do, Chris? He's like, oh, I'm retired. I'm like, what did you do before you retired? And he said, I owned a construction company. And then I asked him how many ex-wives he had. That was pretty funny. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, guaranteed if you own a construction company, you have an ex-wife. And he's like, I have two. And I'm like, it totally makes sense now.
Yeah.
Why you're the person you are. Yeah. So.
For me, like, he wasn't a problem when I was on stage
No.
at all, but his wife or
When she
girlfriend or
started,
whoever-
when you asked if someone in the crowd was celebrating
Yeah.
anything, and she just spoke up for everybody,
and just
it's
said
like-
no, which was
yeah.
not the case at all.
Yes.
But she says like no, and I was like, don't do that. Like,
Not to mention we had that one group of women come in.
but that was the Late Show though.
Yeah,
But
that was interesting too. That's
yes,
the first time I've seen a group of ladies say, "Oh, we know each other because we get our vaginas waxed by this person." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is crazy. This is."
the funny thing was like after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know how someone says something and you have a thought after the fact?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, I should have said this.
Yeah.
Like anytime I have that thought, I try to just store it
Yeah, me too.
in the memory banks, because if that situation ever comes up,
Yeah.
because I was kind of joking with the lady. It was like her birthday. She was the one who like did the Brazilians.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like right after the show, oh, I could have made like a great Ghostbusters reference. How she was like Louis Tully, just bringing out all her clients rather than friends, because this is a write-off for her.
And that's funny.
Which, like, I wouldn't have stated it that way, but I went, oh, this is a brilliant move. You're bringing out clients instead of friends. You can write this off as a business expense. Like,
yeah.
like in the fact that afterwards, I was like, I totally should have said
Yeah.
that. I could have stayed in the pocket a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, when I'm doing crowd work, I never want to like humiliate someone
No.
or bring it to a spot where I'm meaning.
I felt like I did at one point, but it is what it is, and I forgave myself instantly because I'm like, he didn't care and neither did the crowd.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at the end of the show, like he got up and shook your hand,
yeah, and then bought a bunch of merch from
bought a
us.
bunch of merch, and he was also like one of a large group of that audience that gave us a standing ovation
Yes,
at the end of it. And
which
it was,
we were talking about that, and that doesn't really happen in Canada very much. So
no,
yeah,
it's funny when I see like the Canadian like specials that are on like YouTube or
Yeah.
whatever, like you never see the crowd stand up.
No.
I think maybe Simon King's most recent one, I think
Yeah.
they gave him a standing ovation. But it's like, it's so rare that they just like do the joke and then,
Yeah.
fade it out.
Well, I know with being in a wheelchair, it's always weird when people want to celebrate something I did so well by something I can't do. That always makes me feel great. So
It should make you feel great though.
It does.
Because it's like,
It does.
it's like one of the ultimate signs of respect. I remember I was doing a show with someone and it was like, it wasn't the first time where I've ever had a standing ovation. But like, I remember I was in the feature spot. I remember watching the headliner going like, oh, they did quite well. And then we're like driving back, but I was at a place in the club where you couldn't see the audience because the club layout is like in a way.
okay.
And I just went like, they give you a standing ovation too. And he was like, man, fuck you. You're fucking egotistical. I was like, what? No, it was a genuine question. I wasn't trying to be
That's
mean
funny.
or.
That's funny.
And it's like, because I got off stage and then I couldn't even see that they had done it. I was like, thank you, good night. I walk off stage. I walk to the back and then the MC's like, oh my God, he all gave him a standing ovation, which.
It always feels cool. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does. Because we do put a lot of work into what we do. So to have people enjoy it enough that they're like, this was fucking cool. I'm going to stand up and show them how much I appreciated it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. So
it is interesting when you meet comics that you don't know and they get to see you and experience what you do.
Are we talking about me right now again? Or just people in general? I'm confused.
People in general. I mean,
Okay.
I was kind of talking about me for a second.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
an
I wasn't
egotistical
quite sure.
prick.
I wasn't quite sure if I was supposed to shine the spotlight on myself again or not.
No, you can. Absolutely, you can.
I do surprise a lot of like comedians
Yeah.
that have never seen me. Because I think they see me and I don't think they expect much.
Mm-hmm.
So when I actually get to just go up there and be me, it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is when you're in a specific position, like whoever's you're working with, they're gonna have at least an expectation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like when you're at a club like House of Comedy and you're in the feature spot, like whoever's headlining that weekend has the expectation that like, I mean, this guy's featuring, so he's probably good. But then you feed them their lunch and
Yeah.
and it's, it's questions like, why are you still here? Like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah. That's why
they're secretly pissed off about it.
Yeah. Which is fine too.
Yeah.
As much as a comedy show is a collective effort from everyone, we're still representing ourselves as individuals every time we're up there. So
Of course. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember post-pandemic, I don't know if I told this on the podcast. I went to do this show and I got there and I asked about the host or at least the person who books it. And they had moved to like Calgary. And I didn't know this.
Okay.
There was a new booker. And she, like, I didn't know her. She didn't know me.
Okay.
And then I had another comic who said he was going to give me, like, was going to big up me for her. And, like, basically, when she walked over, he was like, yeah, this is Chris. Like, he's pretty good. You should put him up at some point. And I was just like, that's not... I headline clubs
Yeah.
across the country, dick. Like,
Yeah.
so she kind of just blew me off, understandably, with that putting in the good
Yeah.
word. And then another comic was like, hey, have you talked to that guy? Like, he's fantastic and you should put him up. And, I was asked to do 5 minutes and it went very well. And then I went and did the show again like 3 weeks later. And there was a comic who had moved from Montreal to Vancouver. And because it was like when things started opening up during the pandemic, like before it shut down, you know what I mean? Like things were fully starting to open up.
Yeah.
And this I'm getting a ride after the show from the lady who ran the show. Mm-hmm. And this comic from Montreal, he says to me, he goes, so where the fuck are you from? Or where the fuck you come from? And I go, oh, I live out in like Richmond. And he's like, that's not what, and it dawned on me right then. Oh, that's not what you meant. Like, because he was saying like, dude, you were fucking great. What, like, and I was like, oh, well, actually, and then all of a sudden the person who booked the room was just like, oh, like he's a headliner. He was just on a hiatus because of the pandemic. And I was like, why are you talking like you know me now? Like, this
That's funny.
is our third time meeting. You're acting like we're friends.
That's funny.
Like you didn't blow me off the last time I was here. Fuck off.
The one thing about Matt that I really appreciated too when he was working with me is when I was working in places that I basically got the gig because I was his opener and the people that booked the show or whatever didn't know anything about me. He wouldn't say much other than just watch him and you'll figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because then I put the ball in my court and I could just do my thing, and if people liked it, great. If not, like I wasn't going to lose any sleep over it.
I mean, honestly, I think that's almost like the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a way of like he's not going, I think he's good. He's going like, just watch him. Like that's his way of saying, trust me.
Yeah.
He's good. Just watch what the fuck he does.
Yeah.
Like there have been times where I've gotten people work where that's what I've done.
Yeah, I think
where I've been like, yo, get so and so, and they're just like, well, I go, no, just do it, and just watch what happens. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I ended up getting Sean McDonald a bunch of work with like a guy who booked runs up north, and I got a few guys, gigs up there that like. That guy never would have even looked at if it wasn't for me going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know when Maddie passed away, his fiance said to me that he sent over 700 individual emails to different clubs across the country.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, he just cut and pasted it. No, they showed me the outbox, and it was like each individual email was written differently, So
yeah,
I'm when I do well now, I feel like I'm just doing what he expected me to do now.
Yeah,
and that's part of the reason why I bring something of Matt every time I work at a club or do a big show. It's usually his lighter that I keep in my pocket.
It's right here, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
To not forget it, yeah.
Yeah,
because then I will fill it in my pocket at the show.
Yep.
But it's just, I feel like now I'm at the point in my career where all that stuff he used to tell me that all I had to do was put the work in, and now that I've done that, I feel like I could do anything now. So, I'm pretty excited about the future.
So, I will tell you how the Rolling Thunder shows at that club kind of came to be, where I was in talks about doing a headline weekend because I was like, oh, I want to work on my hour and start to fine tune it. And it went from, well, how about you do it? And I know you're close friends with Ryan, and Ryan can open for you. And I was like, I mean, honestly, I would have said yes, but I was like, fuck, I don't, because I know how hard you can destroy. And especially in a feature spot, I'm just like, I'm going to say yes to it. But, and then before I could even answer, it was the booker who was like, well, what about that Rolling Thunder show? Why don't we just do that thing? And I was like, absolutely, let's do that. Like, I think...
I'm grateful that we got the opportunity.
But I really had to say, like, hey, just so you know, like, this is a 2-person show. This isn't, the standard 1, 2, 3, or like 4 people, or sometimes, when they do split middles and then have a guest spot. I went and filmed like a set. This was maybe a year or 2 back to like send to bookers, like a clean, just like, here's a clean showcase set. And I was given the guest spot, and then I got there was a second guest spot, and they were doing split middles. And I was like, this is too many comics on a show like this.
It's too hard on an audience. Yeah,
where it's literally 5 different people before a headliner who's going up to do 45. Like, it was too much. And like, the headliner was very, said some very kind words after I like filmed that. And he was just like, dude, like, what was that for? And I was like, oh, to show a corporate gig that didn't book me, like, what they're missing. And he's like, oh, you're probably going to get the work. And no, I didn't get the work, but it was fine. Anyways,
corporate gigs are always interesting because we want them as comedians because they pay well, but they're usually always painful to do. So,
I mean, the other thing is a lot of times they're run by people who don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're booked by people who don't understand what the industry is.
Yeah.
So like they're booked by people who don't like. I've always explained it as like, when I price myself, some people are like, yo, you can't charge that much. And I go, no, you don't understand how much it would cost you to bring this many people to like a comedy club, even on an off night. Like 80 people, I'm asking for, anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000 depending on the situation. And it's like, you bring 80 people to a comedy club, let's say on an off night where the cover charge is still $15 a head. Okay. So that's $1,000 right there. Technically, it's probably $1,200 right there. Right? Plus you're paying food and drink for everyone. So add another $15, probably more. Technically, if people are ordering food, because not everyone's going to just do 2 drinks. So you say on average an extra $20 a head. So that already puts you at $2,800. Plus you have to transit them. So that would mean you would have to rent out 2 charter buses for that number of people to drive there and back, which each charter bus is going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 to rent for the night. So it literally ends up costing them $10,000 to bring them to to get like a comedy club show. And that's on a night where it's like a pro-am show, not a professional comic who's been working, you know what I mean? Like a lot of comedy clubs, their tickets now start at $25.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to explain, like, hey, I'm I'm charging you less than you would get bringing those people to a comedy club. Like,
I get it, buddy. Yeah, so, but I get a lot of the corporate gigs that I've got recently have all been like for disability organizations.
yeah,
Which is interesting for me because I spend the majority of my act trying to, let's say, normalize my disability to them.
yeah.
Whereas they already know and they might even have a disability themselves. So it's like always an interesting switch, and I can just make fun of like really deep cut disability stuff because they get it, right? They understand it. So, but yeah, I'm finding out more and more organizations want to do things like that for their clientele and their employees, which is interesting for the future for me and for the Rolling Thunder show too. So, because it'd be nice to get some Rolling Thunder corporate gigs.
I mean, I was going to say, this is totally a type of gig that we could do at a corporate and just cut the show down to an hour long.
Yeah.
And each do, 25 minutes and then 10 together. Like,
yeah, exactly.
which would be like the easiest thing because,
For
all of a sudden we'd be like, oh, I got to get off stage already. Like, this has been a cakewalk.
Yeah. Start talking, look up, you're already getting the light. So,
Dude, all of those shows, like, so my watch I set specifically with like a vibration alarm. Every one of those shows, when my 20-minute hit, I was like, I've been up here for 20 already. Like, except the first show, but that's because like I started off in a weird way that like when 20 hit, I mean, I was still like, it's already been 20, but it was like a battle for me on that first show.
Yeah, that first show was rough for you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But then I cleaned it up for you, so we're okay.
Oh, yeah, you sure did. Here's the thing, is I got that crowd going, and I know I got them going because we did have like a guest spot who swung by.
Yeah, and you did well.
Yeah. And not shockingly either. Like, he's a very competent comedian.
Very much so.
But it was one of those things where, like, when his first punchline hit, the level that it hit at, where I felt a few of my punchlines hit like that. But the stuff that would normally hit like that didn't. And then the stuff that hit like that would normally be much higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for it, like, okay, this crowd's sort of into it. But when his first punchline hit, I was like, okay, no, this crowd is into it. Like, it just was work off the top.
Yeah. Plus, like you said earlier, we had to work out all the kinks and figure out where we were supposed to go with everything because it was the first time that we were doing the show in a club. So
yeah,
you were gonna have moments like that.
I mean, it kind of made it easier too, as well. Sorry, this podcast boring for you?
Like you, I need to catch on some sleep.
Yeah.
I'm old, man. My age is catching up with me.
Dude, we're both getting there.
Yeah.
I'm starting to push 40 already. It's very interesting when I'm watching movies that I'm like, oh yeah, this, and then I'm like, wait, how old's the character in this?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck off, man.
That's so funny.
Wow. Actually, my lady and I watched Formula One.
Yeah.
This weekend, like, because of our schedule with the shows, the day that I could hang out with her was the day of the U.S. Grand Prix. And at one point, they were showing one of the drivers, and she was like, how old is he? And I was like, he's like 19. And she's like, what? And I was like, actually, I think he's 18. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. Like, it's a Twitch sport. So, like, it's definitely young man's game.
Oh, for sure it is.
Yeah.
You don't see any old farts ripping around in Formula 1 cars.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
He's like 44 or something, I think.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel old because I'm 45, so there we go.
All right. Sorry, he's 46, I think.
He's in good shape for a 40-year-old, though, so makes sense.
For someone who just sits and eats, you're in pretty good shape, too. You
Yeah,
know what I
I'm
mean?
in a round shape. That's what I'm in. A round one, yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything coming up down the pike? Anything you want to talk about before we wrap this?
Just the local show I do at the Galaxy once a month, every third Thursday.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty good comics on the show, and I still got to figure out who's gonna. Are you gonna host it since you're gonna be here?
I guess I'm going to be here. I might as well.
Okay. Then we figured everything out.
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be on November 21st, I believe, is the third Thursday of the month. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
November 21st, Galaxy Public House
And White Rock.
in White Rock. Yeah. Who's on the show?
Ray Morrison,
Okay.
Alex Suarez,
All right.
Shane Clark, and there was some young kid that wanted a guest spot, but I can't remember his name.
It's pretty good lineup. So
Yeah. Not me, though. I'm going to sit in the back like the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm.
Well,
What you got going on, Chris?
I got to prep to get myself moved. I'm working on getting my car fixed, so I have to bring that in to the shop to do. So that will hopefully be done by the end of this week.
That'll be good.
And then I'm starting a new job at the start of November as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So that's good. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the commute's gonna suck, but
I still have the same old job. It's called being disabled. Pretty good at it. Got lots of years of experience. It involves a lot of sitting and contemplating things and complaining about the size of doorways and elevators and such.
you got a good resume. That's what
Yeah,
matters.
I do.
That's what matters.
I do.
All right, we should wrap this up.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as your monthly shows coming down the pike, but I don't really have anything. It's that time of the year where I'm basically working on booking a few corporate things, but
Yeah.
that's about it. So, all right.
All right.
Well, I guess that's it for this week's episode. So we'll be
Yes.
back next Wednesday for another fantastic Rolling Thunder. And
Yes, we will.
for Ryan, I'm Chris. Have a great one.
Peace.